Jake Tapper and Alec Thompson wrote perhaps the blockbuster of the spring in Original Sin. I read it probably 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, but I went on vacation. They went on vacation. This has been like my trying to get a date as a sophomore in high school. I really could not get out. People were washing their hair in their car and they were going shopping, but we finally got them together. Thank you both. Congratulations on Original Sin. My first question to both of you, I watched a lot of the interviews that you both did. And it didn't seem to me like many people had actually read Original Sin because they didn't follow up on any of the news. Alex, let me start with you. Was that your impression that a lot of your interviewers had not actually read the book?
I wouldn't say a lot, but there were definitely a few interviews, and I'm not going to name names, but there were definitely a few interviews where I was like, you haven't really read the book.
Now, and Jake, did you notice that there were just some obvious questions that did not get asked?
Yeah, but people have their own agendas. I will say, and this is going to sound like I'm polishing the teacher's apple, but you always read the book. And even when I wrote a 500-page book about an outpost in Afghanistan, not only did you read the book, the bump ins and bump outs were music cited in the book. When you had me on, whatever it was, 13 years ago to talk about the outpost.
That's because The Outpost was a great book. Let me get to the news of this book. If the only thing that people hear about Original Sin is this interview, I want to make sure they get the big grabs. I'm trying to impose chronology on a well-written narrative. And because you went with narrative and storytelling, the chronology gets a little out of kilter, but I went back and recreated it. And I want to start in the Manhattan home of Carrie Fowler and Amy Goldman Fowler on September 20th, 2023. Jake, what was unusual about that? Michael Shearer, the New York Times frequent guest on this program, was there. What happened?
It was an event. This is in the chronology of the real deterioration of Joe Biden, which had been happening for years. But in our reporting, we ascertained that it really started getting bad, super bad, in the summer of 2023. President Biden told his basic origin story in his presidential campaign of 2020, whether it's apocryphal or not, depends on your perspective, I suppose. But his origin story has to do with he was never going to run for president again, and then the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally and the President Trump's reaction to it happened, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is he told this story twice. He told the exact same story twice within 3 minutes of itself about the march, about the death of Heather Heyer, about President Trump's reaction, and then literally 3 minutes later he tells the same story. And this was shocking to people in the room. It happened on a Friday, and I forget if it was a holiday weekend or not, but when reporters asked about it a few days later, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, basically said he cares about the story so much that's why he told it twice, which was a very not believable explanation.
All right, that's September 20th. Jake, quick follow-up. How many people are in the Fowlers' apartment? Do you have a guesstimate on that? Is it 20? Is it 50? Is it 100?
Probably closer to 50. These fundraisers tended to be, I'd have to go back and look, but these fundraisers, these small but high dollar fundraisers tended to be within 3 to 5 dozen people.
All right, now, Alex, I want to go up to something I didn't know about the weekend. I have not now, nor have I ever been invited to the weekend. First I ever learned about it was in Original Sin. Sounds pretty interesting. Were you there, Alex, at the weekend when this happened?
No, I wasn't.
Jake, were you at the weekend when this happened?
No. The only people I know of that were there were Ron Klain, Karl Rove, Jonathan Karl from ABC News, and Ari Emanuel, and then a couple other people I talked to for the book. But this is not something
I'd written John Karl Rove, Chris Christie. So this is an eclectic group of political addicts. And Ari Emanuel. Alex, tell people who Ari Emanuel is if they don't know, if they don't play inside baseball.
Yeah, so Ari Emanuel is the brother of Rahm Emanuel, who was former congressman, chief of staff to Barack Obama, mayor of Chicago, Biden's ambassador to Japan, also the brother of Ezekiel Emanuel, a doctor who had been on Biden's COVID team. And Ari Emanuel in his own right is one of the most powerful, basically agents in Hollywood. And he is at this meeting, and he basically starts screaming at Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, and says, I'm paraphrasing here, but people want the actual quote. You can read the book, but basically,
we can't say it on the air.
I promise. I'm keeping it clean. I'm keeping it clean. But he basically says, aging happens. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. What are you doing? Biden is old. This is irresponsible, and honestly is the cleanest and nicest version of Ari Emanuel ever put to audio in my paraphrasing of him. But essentially, that's what he says.
Let me quote what you guys write. Ari Emanuel, from the back of the room, Emanuel began yelling at Ron Klain, Biden cannot run, he needs to drop out. Everyone around the president, worst of all, Joe was lying. Emanuel would say Jill and Hunter and Jeffrey Katzenberg and Ron blanking Klain were lying. So he's screaming. How many people are there? That's what I want to get to at the weekend. Is it 100? Is it 200? Is it 500 people? Jake?
I think it's about 100, but I'd have to go back. This is Ari Emanuel throws this, as Alex notes, he's one of the most powerful people in Hollywood, the CEO of WME Endeavor. He was, this is how elite he was. He was at Jeff Bezos' wedding. That's how fancy Ari Emanuel is. Rahm Emanuel not there. Zeke Emanuel not there. Ari Emanuel was there. He's stunned, and he doesn't give a penny he's a big Democratic donor, a big supporter of, although he did used to be Donald Trump's agent, we should know, during the Celebrity Apprentice era. But he does not want Donald Trump to be president, but he does not give the Biden campaign a penny because he is just thoroughly disgusted and demoralized by what he thinks the Democrats are doing.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.